Hello and welcome. I'm Hotel AI Expert, and I'm very pleased to welcome all of you from Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. In all my years supporting modern hotels, there's one skill that's proven to be absolutely fundamental to success, and that's mastering the art of posting charges. Today, we're going to dive into this critical process because it really is the foundation of a hotel's financial health and its relationship with every single guest.
Now, it's easy to hear daily task and think it's simple, but you really can't underestimate its importance. Every single transaction, from a coffee in the morning to a huge week-long conference, it's all captured right here. Getting this right isn't just about making the numbers add up. It's about keeping the hotel financially stable, and maybe most importantly, earning your guests' trust from the second they check in.
All right, so let's jump right to the very heart of the hotel's revenue cycle. Everything really does flow from here. Understanding how these core guest transactions get recorded, well, that's step one to mastering hospitality finance.
I've always liked to think of this as creating a financial narrative. See, every charge for a meal, a spa treatment, a movie rental, it tells a small part of that guest's unique story with your hotel. And our job, our whole purpose in this process, is to make sure that story is recorded perfectly and immediately.
And where does the story get written down? Well, that's the guest folio. Just think of it as the official, live updating ledger for every guest. It is the single source of truth for all their financial interactions. Every single charge we talk about today is going to end up right here, which is why it has to be kept so meticulously.
Okay, so let's zoom in on the two heavy hitters, the biggest moneymakers for pretty much any hotel: rooms, and of course, food and beverage. If you're going to work in the front office or in finance, mastering how these charges are posted is, well, it's simply non-negotiable. Room charges are, without a doubt, the core of the guest folio. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Doesn't the system do this automatically? And yes, most modern property management systems will post these during the night audit. But, and this is a big but, automatic doesn't mean we can just ignore it. The cashier's most critical role is to be that human check, to verify the system got it right by checking the rate, the dates, and any special package details against that original reservation. And believe me, you'll be intervening manually more often than you'd think. Just think about it. A guest changes rooms halfway through their stay, or they decide they want to extend their trip by a night. Or maybe a specially negotiated rate was just entered incorrectly from the start. The system can't always figure that out. It needs a person to step in and make it right. Careful oversight right here prevents the number one reason for arguments at checkout.
So this really shows you the key difference in the process. With room charges, since they're usually automated, your main focus is on checking the system's work against the original reservation contract. But F&B charges, that's a whole different ballgame. They come in from all over the place: the restaurant, the bar, room service, and that makes the signed guest check your most important piece of evidence. It becomes your absolute proof, especially if a guest questions a charge later on.
Okay, so we've covered the big two, but as you know, the guest folio is filled with all sorts of other charges. We call these ancillary charges. And this is where things can get really detailed, because each one of these services has its own unique workflow that you need to master.
You can see it all here: a spa treatment, a last-minute car booking, pressing a suits. They might seem like small charges one by one, but trust me, they add up fast. And the tricky part? They all come from different departments. That means each one has a different paper trail, a different story that the front office cashier needs to know how to follow and how to verify.
Let's use transportation as a perfect example of what I mean. If it's our hotel's car service, the process is pretty direct. The concierge can probably post it right away. But what if we use an outside limo company? Well, now you've got to have proof. You need that dispatcher's log or a signed ticket from the guest, something concrete. Why? Because if that guest later says, "Hey, I never took that car," and you have no documentation, you've got nothing.
So let's play out a scenario you are absolutely going to face, probably every single day. A guest walks up to the front desk, they point to their bill, and they say those words, "I don't recognize this charge." How you handle that single moment says everything about your professionalism and the hotel's integrity.
Okay, don't panic. There's a clear, methodical process for this. Step 1, get the source document. Pull up the original signed check from the restaurant system. Step 2, go over it with the guest. Stay calm, review the itemized list, and most importantly, verify the signature. And if that doesn't clear it up, step 3, collaborate. Call the restaurant manager, talk to the server, get the full story. Remember, your goal is not to win an argument. It's about finding the facts together. So, Everything we've just talked about, from room charges all the way to handling disputes, it all really boils down to three core principles. I like to call them the three pillars of posting. If you build your work on these, you'll always be on solid ground. Pillar number one, and it is by far the most important, is accuracy. Every single posting has to be 100% correct, no exceptions. Think about the damage an error can do. If you overcharge a guest, you've broken their trust. If you undercharge, the hotel is literally losing money. So yeah, accuracy is completely non-negotiable. Second pillar, timing. Charges need to be posted as soon as they happen. Nobody likes surprises on their bill at the end of their stay. If a guest had a big dinner last night, they should be able to turn on their TV this morning and see that charge already on their folio. If you wait to post everything at the last minute, you're just asking for that dreaded bill shock at checkout. Being prompt shows you're being transparent. And the third pillar is communication. Look, the front desk can't operate on an island. You need clear, concise information flowing from every other department in the hotel. A detailed note from the minibar attendant or the banquet captain is absolutely essential. The bottom line, the cashier needs all the facts before a charge ever hits that guest's folio. That's how you prevent mistakes from happening in the first place. So, as we start to bring this all together, it's really important to see this role for what it is. Posting charges is not just some simple, repetitive task you do on autopilot. It is a craft. It demands your professional diligence and your sharp, critical judgment every single day. This quote here really gets to the heart of it. This is not a passive job of just typing numbers into a screen. It's an active, thinking process. It requires you to be aware of everything happening in the hotel, to be diligent in verifying information, and to pay continuous attention to that financial story you are building for every single guest. When you really think about it, the cashier is the guardian of financial balance for the entire hotel. You are standing at this critical intersection, making sure everything is fair. You make sure the hotel gets compensated for its services, and you guarantee the guest is only charged for what they actually received. That is a position of huge trust and responsibility. And so I'll leave you with this one final thought. In an age where technology and automation are everywhere in our industry, we have to ask ourselves, what is the real enduring value of having a human being in this role? Well, in hospitality finance, the answer is clear. It's the judgment, the diligence, and the communication that a machine simply cannot replicate. And that is the art you are all here to master.